The new fall patterns keep rolling in, so we are going to talk about Burda Style's latest release for the fall of 2025. I don't always cover Burda because sometimes they just don't have that many that are interesting, but I did want to include them this season. So we're going to do what we usually do, go through all the patterns that are in this release. I'm going to tell you my thoughts, and then hopefully in the comments you'll share yours as well. Let's jump into it. But first,
Hi, I'm Tiffany of Tip Stitched, and welcome back to my YouTube channel where we discuss all things sewing and DIY.
I don't usually talk about the accessory patterns when I'm doing these new releases, but I did want to include this particular bag pattern 5675 from Burda Style because I like the fact that it gives you three different distinct bags in one pattern, which it probably should. None of them are going to be probably all that difficult, but I want to take a look at them on the model. First up, you have view A, which she's wearing as a crossbody, but it's sort of traditionally shaped like a fanny pack or a belt bag. And it has a chain here for the strap, which is cute. I mean, you could also do a webbed strap or sew your own strap with the matching fabric or whatever. But I like the overall shape of a fanny pack, and I found myself carrying them more often. Also, this sort of knotted pleated bag, which we can see better actually in this picture by itself. You sort of have these pleats in this sort of kidney shaped bag with the two knots on the handle strap and a zipper closure. This is cute. It's a cute little shoulder bag. You can just throw over your shoulder. It's not going to hang too low. It fits sort of right in that grip. And then view C is this like tote origami kind of bag. This one is the one that I would probably carry the least. Like I said, I definitely am for the fanny bag crossbody. And then I do like the overall shape of this. I just don't carry purses like that anymore. So it would be cute to make or give away, but I probably wouldn't sew it for myself. And then this is just too simple for me. I like that they did it here in like a luxier type fabric. So you can see you could definitely play around with the fabrics and it would give it a totally different look. But again, I don't really carry a lot of bags. And if I do carry something, I want it to be something that I can put around my waist or throw a crossbody on. So I would be more likely to sew view A. However, I already have my favorite fanny pack of this sort of style, which is the Chandler fanny pack by Beauty J'adore. So if you don't have that one, check that one out. Support a indie designer. All right, on to the clothing. First up, we have a dress and shirt in this pattern. They are calling these retro inspired silhouettes, and I guess that's true. These are definitely knit style patterns. So first up, you have view A, which is the dress view, which has a center seam in the back with a zip. It also has a waistline in the front with these different sort of contoured pieces on the front bodice. And then you see that there is a dart on the elbow. Now, it looks like, does view B have a drawstring at the bottom? Because view B is just basically a top version of view A, and the zipper is in the back. So I'm just trying to see what that little thing is there, because that shouldn't be another zipper. We'll see as we look at the actual photos, which is one thing that I really like about Burda Style patterns is that they always show you the patterns on real people and not just sketches. So you can see here this black and white geometric kind of print. You have the dress. I don't always agree with their fabric choices because I can't even really see the detailing of those front panels on the bodice. And maybe it's more for shaping and not really for interest in the seam lines. But in a fabric this busy, you just absolutely cannot see it. And I don't know why they do that. You can see it a little bit here on the top in red. If we zoom in, you can see where that seaming and shaping comes in at the curved waist here and on the side bodice on both sides. And that's, in a solid, or if you did color blocking, would probably be the easiest way to see those type of lines. On something this busy, even if we zoom in, you can sort of barely see those seam lines, which I guess, if the overall shape is flattering, maybe that doesn't matter as much. But here again, you have both of the pieces actually just sewn up. Again, love Burda for giving us all the views. And, we can get a better view of what it looks like. Here you can see that center back seam here with the zipper as well. So overall, I do think this is a cute dress. It's a knit dress that's fitted without being like truly bodycon fitted, which could be a good look. If you're going into the fall, you probably want to do this with heavier weight fabrics like double knits, pontes, Liverpool knits, things like that. A sweater knit might be too stretchy. This is probably going to call for more of a stable knit. Yeah, it says use only stretch dress fabric with a lightweight body. The sizing is not as inclusive with Burda Style, so you're looking at a size 10 through 22, which is the same as the 36 through 48, I believe, in European sizing. So the size range, I'd have to pull up the size chart separately, but the size range is not as inclusive as it is on some of the other patterns because each pattern only has one size envelope. Here we have another dress and top pattern from Burda, and this is 5678. Always a cute little number when they go in order like that. And this one is more of a shirt dress, so this is going to call for woven fabrics. It actually calls for lightweight blouse and dress fabrics, so think shirtings, poplins. If you want something with a little bit more drape, maybe a crepe, lightweight fabrics would work really good for this one. And let's take a look at the line drawings first. You can see that these are, well, a shirt dress and then a shirt. It almost has like a half button placket. The dress version has a full cuff with buttons, also features a back yoke, a collar, and a collar stand, obviously, to really give it that shirt dress look. And then view B lacks the collar and the cuffs at the hem, and it's a little bit loose at the waist, not so fitted right there. But you can see essentially it's styled like a shirt dress here. And I'm always partial to dresses, so I like them a little bit more. I also love this sort of like black and taupe, black and off-white fabric that they use here. That's very graphic, stands out. And then here you can see it in something a little bit more geometric and striped. Again, here you lack having the collar. There's just a simple button at the top there. And you lack the cuffs on the sleeves as well. And you can see this little bit of extra body right here at the waistline on the top. And if we look at, they're not really flat lays because it sort of looks like a body is in them. You can see here where the placket stops about like halfway. So you have a hidden button placket here, and the same thing for the top version as well. So this one again is going to be in their sort of smaller size range of a 10 through a 22. You can see the fabric requirements here. You do need 6 or 3 buttons depending on if you're doing the one with the cuffs here for the shirt dress. You could also obviously add the cuffs to the shirt version as well as the collar if that's the look that you are going for. But these are the 2 views that they give us here. And aside from the fact that I already have way too many shirt dresses, this is a really cute pattern. We have a Burda Easy pattern here in this men's sweater and t-shirt. And I mean, sweatshirts are easy, tees are easy. If you're familiar with working with knits and you know how to sew on neck and sleeve bands, you can pretty much make any sweatshirt or a t-shirt. But we'll take a look at the overall line drawings here. You can see that view A is more of a sweatshirt fit. It has the detail of adding the little V here at the neck. You're going to have a neck band, a little bit of gather here for the arm bands, same thing for the hem band of the shirt. And then to make that a t-shirt, you're essentially going to use the same pieces, but you're just going to make short sleeves and omit the band at the hem of the tee. So we can take a look at these, sewn up and worn on the models for the envelope. And you can see they're just very traditional. It's a little bit of a drop shoulder here, comes a little bit past the shoulder. He has it pushed up so that you have the slouchy arm. The band is also really just for finishing here. It isn't like a really tight elastic hem band on the sweatshirt. So this is more of a relaxed casual fit. And then on the t-shirt, same thing, slightly drop shoulder, big, wide circumference sleeves, and a very relaxed boxy fit at the waist with the hemline here. So these are very simple patterns, but if you don't have them, they could definitely be, a pattern that would work well for you. And these are in the men's Euro sizing of 46 to 56 and men's American sizing of 36 to 46. You'll have to check the size charts to see the specific information on the measurements there if you're not familiar with your European sizing. But if you're going to make the t-shirt, you probably want to use lighter jersey fabrics. And if you're going to make the sweatshirt, you probably are going to want to look for sweatshirt fleece, fleeced, a ponte, some type of heavier double knit, but you definitely want stretch fabrics for either one of these patterns. Burda 5683 seems almost more appropriate for winter to me than fall, but a good classic coat is good almost any time of the year if the weather permits. So I really think that this is a attractive coat. It's double-breasted. It has a large notch lapel that adds a little bit more drama around the neckline. It has this gorgeous paneling with the piecing that allows you to get a really great fit, because this can be a coat that really gives off like an hourglass type of shape. If we look here at the line drawing, view A shows you with the double-breasted front with the buttons exposed through the buttonholes. You see that large collar with the notch lapel. You have nice wide sleeves. You have inseam pockets on the side seam and a waistline that goes around from like the side front around the back. It's sort of like a princess seamed coat, gives you that very fit and flare look. I like it a lot. And if we scroll down to view B, you can see this almost identical with the addition of some top stitching detail, as well as belt loops and this elastic belt that can be made out of the same fabric. You'll also notice that these sleeves have a band. I don't think they're truly a cuff because it doesn't look like they button, but like a banded, almost balloon, fuller gathered sleeve on the coat. And we can take a look at that on the models up here. First up, in this pink and white buffalo sort of checkered print, you can see the 4 exposed buttons for view A, this nice large lapel, nice turtleneck coming up through it. It's definitely like a midi length. And she doesn't have her hands in her pocket, but I believe the next image does. This almost looks like a fleece or some type of almost faux fur. But here we have it in a dressier, looks like maybe a taffeta or rain jacketing kind of fabric. And here's where you can see sort of the volume in the sleeves that go into the hemband. This elastic waist belt, which I don't love. I would probably just do a tie. And the extra detailing of the top stitching along the lapel is probably the easiest place to see it. She has her hands in her pocket, so you can see that you have those pockets on the side seams. And again, a midi length hittings almost mid-calf, depending on your height. I like the fabric of this first one, even though I'm not a huge fan of pink, mostly because I love a plaid or a buffalo check. But I also see how you could dress it up in this more shinier fabric as well. Again, if you get a rain repellent, you could definitely make this into a raincoat. You could do this with something as heavy as wool if you wanted more of a winter coat. So you definitely have a lot of options here. The sizes range from a US 10 to a 22. So being a coat is probably a little bit oversized. You might have a little bit more room. It would also be really easy to modify this, as it does have those princess paneled sleeve, which really allows you to modify it, I think, a little bit easier, adding maybe, a little 1/4 inch to each thing. If you needed to go up a size, you could probably get the room that you need. So if you're looking for a good, nice, classic double-breasted coat with a dramatic notch lapel collar, this would be great for you. There are several dresses in this fall release from Burda Style, and this one, 5684, is a knit dress that has actually quite a few options as far as Burda options sort of go. View A, you can see it's almost like a bodycon, but not super tight fitted dress that has bust darts coming from the side, as well as some gathering or ruching on one of the side seams. There is a center back zip for both of these views, and the main differences between the two are view A has the tunnel funneled type of neck, and it has a center back slit, whereas view B lacks the collar. You just have a little typical jewel sort of circle neck, round neck here with a side vent instead of the back center vent. Now we can look at both of these on the models on the envelope to sort of to see some of the detailing. It's going to be harder to see in the black one. Again, I never know about their fabric choices. But you can see here you have sort of like a loose turtleneck here around the neckline, as well as the draping here throughout the body of the front of the dress. On the black, not only is it black, so it's harder to see, they throw a moto jacket on top of it, so it's almost impossible to see the gathering that's going on here at the center. But you can see at the bottom this detailing of the zipper at the side seam, which I did not notice on the line drawing. So sometimes it does pay to look at the pattern envelope. Again, you can see here, this almost looks like it's a crushed velvet or something here in the view A, and then view B looks more like a heavy jersey or maybe a double knit, but it has a little bit too much drape maybe for that. Either way, both dresses are cute. They could definitely be dressed up or dressed down. It comes available in a US size 10 to 22, and you definitely have some options here. So if you're looking for like a nice knit dress that you can dress up and down, I think this one would be a good choice. Now, I believe that this coat and jacket here in Burda 5688 looks a little bit more appropriate for fall than the pink buffalo check coat we looked at a little earlier. This one does have a shorter view, which just seems more appropriate for fall to me, but I guess that sort of just depends on your climate. They call all three of these retro jackets, and I guess they do sort of have like a mod 65. They rate these as very easy, which is sometimes hard to find in a coat. So let's take a look at these views. View A, I guess you can sort of see the mod here with the collar and the raglan sleeves with the bust dart on the front. It's a very simple jacket. I don't know if view A has snaps or buttons maybe that are concealed. So just really easy. You're looking at side seam pockets, so that's also always nice to have on a jacket. View B is essentially the same as view A, except for it adds 3 exposed buttons, so you would have to do buttonholes, and I think it might be a tad bit shorter. And then view C is more of a jacket length, probably hitting right at the waistline, and this one only has 2 buttons, and they switched to like this sort of stand-up funnel neck, which I'm not a fan of, but we'll take a look at it on the model as well. First up, you're going to have view A. This one is, I don't know what to categorize this length at quite, but it doesn't hit all the way at the knee. So it's just, a nice little coat to throw on. Again, seems more like a jacket appropriate for fall to me. You can see that she has her hand in her pocket over here. So it's always great to have pockets, I feel like, in your outer layer. Here you can see the next view, view B, very similar here, except for I think we'll be able to see, yep, these exposed. Actually, these are still snaps. They just made them more decorative because you can see the receiving snap over here. Yeah, those are just decorative buttons. Okay, and then on view C, I really don't like these self-covered buttons that probably also are snaps because you don't see a buttonhole behind here. But in this more wool-like looking fabric, you definitely see more of a mod vibe to me in the solid red. I don't love this stand-up collar, but that's just me. It might be a design feature that you like. So here you have it in 3 different fabrics so you can see, the differences. This jacket does have a lot of flexibility. It is available in an 8 to 18, so I'm probably out of this side range. Even if I wanted to grab it, I couldn't. But it is a nice jacket, and the fact that it says very easy might be a great pattern for a new coat or jacket maker to try. If you haven't tackled one of these things, this is probably a good one to try, and you'll still get a very good looking piece of outerwear. We have another Burda Easy pattern, and this one is essentially a circle skirt, but circle skirts are great skirts. They're pretty easy to sew, they're pretty dramatic to wear, and you can make them almost out of any fabric. So, I'm not mad at this, although there are plenty of circle skirt patterns, or you could simply draft your own. Looking at the line drawings, you'll see that view A, really simple, curved waistband, circle, quarter, maybe circle, skirt here, side zip, very simple. And then if you look at view B, it's essentially going to be the same thing, but you are going to have these tie details. I think there's probably still a side zipper here, but it's just being hidden by the bow ties on the side. And then lastly, you have view C, which has the additional detail on the curved waistband of adding some buttons and like a little drama to the waistband itself. So that is definitely interesting. Let's take a look at all 3 on the models here. View A, you can see they did as like a really classic retro poodle skirt with a literal poodle on it. So very cute. The drawings make it look less full, but on her, this definitely looks much fuller, like almost a full circle skirt or maybe 3/4. And this one is a midi length, so it hits right at mid calf. If we look at view B hits like right below the knee. You have this tie detail on the side, which just adds a little bit extra here. And I like the fact that they did it out of a gingham plaid because it's one of my favorite plaids. And it looks super cute, I think, especially with just like a simple white tee as they have it styled. And then here you can see view C, which is back to a midi length. And if we zoom in, you can see this detail on the waistband here with the buttons and the notched top on that curved waistband. So that's definitely a different look you don't see in all patterns. We can take a look at them all here. Circle skirts are, oh, this may have a center bag zip. Yes, because you have the ties on both sides. I definitely don't like how you can see this stitching here. Looks like you can literally just see the serged edge of the tie just sewn on. I wouldn't do that. But anyway, you can see that it has a back center zip for view B. And then again, taking a look at the back of view C. So you have all three of these available in a size 8 to 18. Again, I don't know why some are 8 to 18 and then some seem to be like 10 to 22. It just seems to be no rhyme or reason. Anyway, I think this is a cute skirt because you can just never go wrong with the circle skirt. You can do them in any fabric woven that you want. So you can go lightweight, midweight, heavyweight, even as long as there's some drape in the fabric. I think it'll be just fine. The flowier and lighter the fabric, obviously, the more sort of cones of falling you're going to get. The more body that the fabric has, the more fullness or volume you'll get in the skirt. But you can definitely wear a circle skirt out of a lightweight fabric with sandals in the summer, and you can make a circle skirt out of wool, put on some tights and some boots, and wear it in the dead of winter. So circle skirts, very versatile. This is a very easy pattern. If you're newer to sewing, this could be a very instant gratification type project. This next pattern, 5691, still says Mrs., but if we look at the sizing in the drop down, you can see that this is available from a size 20 to 34. So this is actually more of one of their plus size patterns, although they're not labeling it as such. It describes them as two sporty shirt patterns. So let's take a look at the illustrations here, the line drawings here. You can see that view A is a hoodie. It has a zip front with the, I don't actually know what you call these hoods that have the center stripe, the center strap of fabric down the back, but I like them. You also have a lot of detailing on the front with sort of like a front yoke, paneled side seams on the front. You have these zippered pockets in the front side seam, which is where I like them to be, honestly, if there is a side front panel. And they also have contrasting hems on the sleeves with a thumb hole. I like everything about this. You could have some fun with some color blocking. I wouldn't do the cuffs in a contrasting fabric. I'd probably do that in the same fabric. If I was going to do the cuffs in a contrasting fabric, I would do some more fabrics through the hoodie and the body of the jacket. Anyway, and then view B has that same yoke, but now you don't have a full zip. You have more of a quarter or a half zip. You have a funnel tunnel neck for the neckline, and it looks like there are still the two zippers on the front side seam for your pockets, but you lack the thumb hole addition on the sleeves of the jacket, which of course you could just pull from view A. But those are our two views here. Let's look at them on the models, and let's look at view A. This is why I don't think I would just do the thumb part in a contrasting fabric, because it just looks a little odd to me. It wouldn't look as odd if you took some of the fabric that was here on the cuff and added it to the side seams or maybe the yoke or somewhere on the hood here. But it looks weird to me just being the only bit of contrast. But that's just me. Do whatever you want. And then here we have view B, which has the quarter zip, which I like because you just sort of have this color blocking with the top panel and the bottom panel, sort of like how they did a more neutral print, but then a really bright pop of color. I think these are perfect for fall because who doesn't need a hoodie in the fall? So I really like that. And I really like this version even without the hood because maybe you just, have a nice little chilly fall breeze. It's a little brisk. But you don't necessarily need to bundle up completely. You just need a little bit of something to cut the wind. I don't know. I don't know how they have it paired here with these leather pants. It's a little off to me because it's sort of giving dressy, but this is very athleisure. I would probably pair this with leggings or some really slim joggers, and I think that would be a cute look. But anyway, Overall, I do like this pattern and I appreciate that. One of the patterns I like the most is more likely in my size range in the 20 to 34 here. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'm gonna grab this one because I have so many jacket and hoodie patterns, but I don't have this many quarter and half zip, so maybe that'll be my excuse. I like it. Here we have another air quote plus size patterns in 5692 because this is also available in the size 20 to 34. So even though it doesn't say that anywhere on the actual pattern envelope, it definitely is. They are calling this a blouse and a tunic pattern here. They're calling for experienced sewists, but they give it a sewing rating of average, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's calling this 70s inspired. I don't know if I really buy into that too, but let's take a look at the line drawings here. First up in view A, you have this sort of, to me, Shakespearean looking ruffle overlay on the front that I don't quite get. You have some darts along the neckline and the bust, a little bit of gathering at the top of the sleeve, and the sleeve is finished off with a band with a button, or I guess technically maybe it's a cuff, just a really narrow cuff. Not my favorite. And then view B is just a simpler version of view A that seems to have some type of neckline. I don't know if that's a facing. They have it drawn on like it's a hem, but that seems wrong. I'm going to say it's a facing. And then it has just loose sleeves, that hit more at 3/4 and then lack that hem, band, that sleeve band. And then you're going to have a little bit of like a vent on both sides of the top for view B. They both have a button and loop type closure in the back. They look a bit better on the models than I feel like they look in the line drawing, because in the line drawing, they look really plain. And maybe the black fabric here takes away from that Shakespearean vibe I was getting from the line drawing here. I definitely like the fullness of the sleeve with the little hem band on the sleeve. It's a nice clean neckline. There's nothing wrong with this. There's just nothing spectacular about this, which sort of sucks because I need more tops. I'm very guilty of sewing one-piece things or just bottoms. And then here we have it in view B, which to me just is boring. Like, it's just very blah. There's no shape. It's very loose. It hits low. And sometimes I just hate when they do this to some of the plus size patterns. You can see here, I don't know still if this is like a facing that's just on the outside or what. But this is just very boring. There's nothing. I like view A more than view B, I'll say that. But view B just looks like a rectangle that we just stuck our arms through. View B, I guess that little extra overlay is at least trying to give us a little point of interest. But there are a lot of other tops that sort of have this loose feel that I would pick before this one. But if you need a top, here's a top. Here we have another Burda Easy pattern in 5694. This one is cute, but I feel like all of us probably already have this pattern unless you've just started sewing. I don't even know if there's that much detail on the line drawing. Let's just start with the models. So you can see here, though they have a lot of different styles modeled, there are really only two pieces that come in this set, and that is a hoodie and a sweatpants. So essentially, this is a sweatsuit pattern. It is super easy, so that could be a good thing if you are a newer sewist and then maybe you don't already have a pattern like this. These do look like two good versions of it. This hoodie looks a little oversized as it looks a bit large on her. You can see it has a giant hood, even though she still has on a beanie. And you have an elastic waist sweatpant here. If you look at it, how they have it paired with like this cargo skirt, it's like with the sleeves ruched really high up on the arm. And here you can see they put a button-up shirt with sweatpants, which I don't get this look. But basically, here is the sweatshirt here. It's not elasticized, so it's more of like an oversized, loose-fitting sweatshirt or hoodie. You don't have that elastic at the waist. You don't have that elastic at the arm. Like when you think of a traditional, like a basic sweatsuit, it is different in that regard. And then the pants aren't quite wide leg, but they definitely don't have the gathered elastic finish at the leg openings either. It's more of a straight leg pant, I would say. And I do hope this has side seam pockets. Yes, because she has her hands in them. Great. So you can see the legs are loose, but they're definitely not wide, you know. But there's nothing tricky here, right? This is very straightforward. It's a hoodie. It's a pair of elastic waist pants. So they just happen to sew up in sweatshirt fleece. to give it the sweatsuit look. The one real big plus I will say is this hood does look large and is a natural locked girly. The more room for my hair in my hood, the better. And of course, as a Black woman, I would line it in satin, but that's just me. Yeah. Overall, this is a cute set. I just would be hard pressed to, unless you're a very new sewist, that you don't already have a pattern similar to this and then may not need another one. But if you don't have a sweatshirt or sweatsuit pattern in your catalog yet, and you don't like the elastic size hem on like a traditional sweatshirt, this would be a good way to go. This Burda Style jacket actually reminds me of the Burda Easy jacket that we just saw a bit earlier at 5688. But this one is a little bit more detailed or involved, so I can see where the differences are. They're just pretty similar to be dropped in the same release. They still call this easy to sew. It's just not super easy, like beginner easy as the first one. If we look at the line drawings here, you can see these are a little bit more flared. You're still going to have the raglan sleeve. You're still going to have a zip front. Well, the other one had a snap front, so sorry. This one has a zip front, and you have the option of 2 different pockets on the front. It's almost like a swing jacket. Both feature, the View A features a collar and then the top stitching, where View B has the additional detail of some bows on the pocket. You can see those actually a little bit better on the model than you can the line drawing. So here they do a contrast collar. I think this is a suede or maybe it's a corduroy. And then you can see the jacket here. You have a zip front, always easy to get on and off, great. And then you have these large patch pockets with flaps and snaps. You can see the snaps right here. And then the sleeves hit right at the wrist, and they sort of like flare out a bit to like the overall silhouette of the jacket. And then here you have View B, where you don't have the collar here. It just zips straight up to the top. You can still see all the details with the panels here on the body and the going towards the sleeve. And then you have this sort of like flat bow architectural geometric 3D element that they add on the pockets here. This pocket doesn't have a flap. It just has the extra details of the bow. This view is obviously sewn in a denim, and a pretty denim at that. They both hit like sort of at the hip. This one in the yellow definitely gives me like Morton's or Gordon Fisherman, you know what I mean? Or the Salt guy. Isn't that who Morton's? Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. And then here in the denim, I guess it's trying to give you a little bit more interest or a little bit dressiness with the added like flat bow detail. Here you can see how they have them both styled. I don't know that I like this with the dress. Seems like this one is a little bit shorter, hits a little bit more at the waist. Might be the models, I don't know. You can see here, like I said, on View A, you have the details of this top stitching along certain aspects of it, which they do not do on the View B. View B, you can just sort of see the seams, the paneling of the seams, but you can't actually see any of the top stitching here. And you can see here, especially in this lighter weight fabric of View B, how it has a little bit of a drape. It almost looks like a cape from the back because it has that looser, drapey, flared silhouette. And this is available from a size 10 to a 22. You will need a zipper for this one as well. Why do we need a snap? I don't know. It says we need 4 snaps. So, interesting. But yeah, I think that this has a potential to be a cute jacket. It's not quite for me, but you know, it's a nice staple kind of jacket to put in your wardrobe and makes a lot of sense for fall. We have another dress here, and this one has 2 views. The description calls View A a blend of sporty and feminine, which I guess is true, but I don't know that it's good. Yeah, let's take a look at this line drawing. If you look at the line drawing here, you sort of have like a stand-up funnel neck here on the neckline with gathering that goes to the neck. You also have some gathering at the waist because I believe there's this elasticized waistband here. You're going to have cuffs on the sleeves, and the sleeves themselves are contrast, and then have either a ribbon or a strip of fabric down the center as an additional like point of color blocking and interest. And then you have sort of like an A-line skirt. View B is very similar, except for the sleeves are going to be elasticized at the hem, and you are going to have like a pussy bow effect on that funneled neck. You're still going to have the elasticized waist, and I think there are actually View B may be a little shorter. Yes, it is. Let's look at it on the model here on the pattern envelope. You see that they do have two pretty different looks. If we look at View A, the one that they're trying to call a blend of feminine and sporty, especially with these like sneakers here, I don't know if it's the colors that they chose or the fact that it's just not giving what it's supposed to give. You can see this contrasting strip of fabric down the sleeve. And maybe it's that they did it in such like a shiny, dressier looking fabric that's throwing it off for me. You do have a concealed placket here with the elasticized waist. I don't really get this funnel neck with the idea of something sporty in these more dressier like fabrics. And then you can see you have the cuffs here and just the skirt there. If we look at View B, I actually like it a little bit more because this looks like a casual dress. Not casual, but this looks like an office dress, something very appropriate to wear to work or like a brunch date or something. I hate this fabric. I don't like this fabric. That's up to you. I don't like the fabric. I guess they're trying to give us fall because it's very fall colors, muted, deep goldens and stuff. I would like this more in a floral or a solid, but this is a more of a silhouette that I understand. It's just giving us a classic work appropriate dress here. You can take a look at it there. Here is the back of the sporty feminine, and here is the back of the other one. Very similar, a little bit of difference in length, difference in whether you're going to do the cuffed sleeve or the elasticized sleeve, and whether you're going to do the bow or not, as well as the contrasting sleeves. I don't think this is a bad pattern. It's just not quite a pattern for me. Let me know what you think in the comments about this sporty feminine blend they're trying to achieve with View A. I think this is our first pants pattern, right? The first standalone pants pattern in this release. And this is Burda 5699. These are two different views of pants, although when we look at the line drawing, you'll see that they're essentially the same. It is available in a 10 to a 22. And then let's take a look here at the line drawings. View A seems to have a button or maybe a hook enclosure here with the side zip. You're going to have sort of the curved angle pockets with the facing here in the waistband and two pleats. This also looks like it's more of a ankle length pant. And then if we look at View B, it's again essentially the same, except for we've added a little something at the waistband and you've added cargo pockets at, I don't know, the mid leg. If we look at it on the models, we can take a closer look at the differences. View A here, you actually do have three little buttons here. There's a side zip, but it gives you the detail of the three buttons. This is definitely done in a corduroy, like a red sort of corduroy. And you can see, yes, they do finish right at the ankle here. And then if we look at View B on the model in this, looks like a plaid suiting, you'll see that it does add these triple belt loops at the front. There are going to be belt loops on the back. You can see that slant pocket on the side and these two pleats. And then these, to me, awkwardly placed cargo pockets. So I'm confused because this is like they're trying to give you a work pant, and work pant and cargo don't go together. I mean, they've paired it here with a classy belt and a button-up shirt and a little bag. So I don't know how the cargo pocket makes sense here. Cargo actually would have made more sense to me on the corduroy. Oops. Let's get back to looking at these. So if we look at the pants by themselves, yeah, I do like the front pleat. I love the slant pocket because I always like that. I prefer a longer pant. I don't want a pant that's going to hit me at the ankle most of the time. I also don't really understand this cargo pocket, but overall, these seem like a decently, styled, designed pair of pants. If you don't have a pair of pants, if you're really in love with these pleats, I think this is a sort of a classic silhouette that you could use for a pair of pants. Me personally, I would just lengthen them to actually come like full length pants. And I would definitely never sew View B with the cargo pocket. But again, that's just me. It is calling for a fluid trouser fabric, and I could see that being a suiting. I don't quite see that being a corduroy. I guess if you have a softer corduroy, that's possible. Also, like a drapey wool would work for this. A lighter weight, wool fabric would work. Um, but you probably want to stay away from bottom knits that just don't have any drape at all. And they classify this as easy, so that's always good in a pant. Given that 5703 comes in a size 20 through 32, I guess they're calling this the plus size pant pattern of this release. And it, on view B on the model, looks like it definitely has a more of a barrel shape. You can sort of see how it comes out on the sides. Let's take a look at the line drawings first. If you look at view A, there's some interesting top stitching, it looks like, going on here along the pocket. You also have on both views the pant leg itself being sort of split in the middle with some top stitching, I guess, to really like pop out that change on view A. They also have a fly front with a button elasticized back that looks like it comes around to the side. So sort of the best of both worlds, a pant that has a finished front look, but you have some room for fluctuation with the elastic waist. There's also a welt pocket on the back, which we'll read the description to see if that's functional or not. View B is very similar, but it takes out the elastic and adds belt loops. And because of that, you're going to have darts on the back pant along with the welt finish, it looks like, with a button as well. And then you're going to have the slant side pockets, but also patch pockets right above that seam line on the leg. And then you're going to have the option to have a little bit more tapered leg with the tabs and buttons on the bottom here. So we have a lot of details to look at here on the models. On view, oh, is this view? No, I think this is view A. You can see here, yes, that the elastic comes around sort of to the side front. You have the slant pocket here on the side with the top stitching along that pocket opening. And let's see how well we can see the split here right sort of above the knee with the top stitching. And then it comes down to a more narrow fit at the ankle or at the leg opening, so it gives you more of that barrel shape, although the way that she's standing, you can't really see it. You can see it better on view B here, which we can, if we zoom in, can see that you don't have the elastic coming around. They've added the belt loops, and you can see the patch pocket here on the side. I'm really happy that they're trying to give women more pockets. I just don't always know that I like the way that they do it. You can see here, you're going to have that seam right above the knee. And so while this pant offers a lot of interesting details that you don't see on other pants patterns, I don't know that I'm completely a fan. It does look like this is a functioning welt pocket here, and you have that gathered elasticized waist on view A. And then on view B, I do like this addition of the tab with the buttons for like an adjustable leg opening size here. And we scroll up, I do like the button detail on this welt pocket. That's just very polished and very sort of advanced looking. They do say that this is a average sewing rating, and they call for lightweight trouser fabrics. So I would say like lightweight wools, drapier suitings, bottom weight fabrics would work well for this. They call this a sleek quilted cargo trouser, which is just a trio of words I don't think necessarily go together. But again, if you are into the barrel leg trend, this may be a good one to grab. I think I'm starting to love that if Burda makes a dress, they're going to also make it a top, because it sort of gives you two different looks. Although, do I really need a separate pattern or view for that? Or could I just have modified the length myself? Who knows? Anyway, they are calling this, again, a dress and a tunic, because I guess this is quite long to just be a top. But this is a maxi dress, and although I don't sew them often, I do like them. We can see here that view A has sort of like this cupped portion for the bodice with darts under the bust line. You also have side seam pockets on each side and a center back zipper, which means that you need two relatively high slits on the side to be able to walk. You can also see on the back view here of view A, there is a darts to help the sleeve fit better. And then view B is essentially view A, but now we have a different hem band, and of course it's going to be shorter in length. So let's take a look at it on the models on the envelope. For once, I'm not 100% mad at the fabric that they chose. This is sort of graphic but minimal at the same time, sort of very abstract. You can see here how it has the bodice details that sort of come under the bust. You have the pocket here in the side seam, and it definitely fits at a midi length with these side slits. They paired it with boots, which makes a lot of sense for fall, obviously. And then here, when you look at view B, the tunic length, the only thing that I will say is this seems like a dressier blouse weight woven here. And then simply to pair that with athletic ribbing feels like a mismatch. I don't really get why they're trying to push this feminine, flirty, sporty look, but they are. I would actually prefer this if the bands had been out of the actual fabric and you just had elastic in them to create sort of the gathering at the sleeve opening, but that's an easy change that I could do. Again, I do really like the colors and the bold print of this fabric. And then you can see it here. Maybe, is that a velvet? Maybe that's a velvet. Maybe they're trying to give us juicy couture, like velvet or velour athleisure wear. I don't know. It's not the look that it gives me though, on the model. So yeah, here we go with all the views here. Like I said, center back zip, yada yada. This one is available in a 20 to a 34. Again, sometimes I think Burda is guilty of making big, loose fitting things in their air quote larger sizes. And, you know, all big girls don't want to be hid up under a bunch of fabric, but it's not a bad pattern. It suggests fluid blouse and dress fabric. So I would think crepes, maybe a challis, polyester, rayon type fabrics, things that are going to give you flow. I guess you could do a silk, velour if it's drapey, velvet could work as well. Anything that's going to have a little bit of drape and movement would work for this pattern. It's no surprise that we have another jacket pattern here in this release because, of course, it's fall. They called this one Super Easy, which sounds great because sometimes people can be a little bit intimidated by jackets. This one is available in an 8 to 18, and let's take a look at the line drawings here. First up, you can see a really simple wide sleeve here with a button front, and you do have a collar. View B takes it up a notch, probably with skill sets of top stitching on the patch pockets with the flaps, as well as gathering the sleeve into a hemband. And then view C is essentially view B without the collar, and it's a little bit longer. I think it adds a button. All three views do have a yoked back. So let's take a look at these three on the models as well. First up, we have view A in this what looks like a plaid sort of flannelly fabric. You can see here the sleeves are pretty big, and open, almost flared, and you can see the simple buttons here are, again, they're snaps. I guess snaps are easier for a beginner. That's how they get to call it so easy, is because you just have to hammer on the snaps versus sewing a buttonhole. Anyway, it has a pretty tall collar here that she has popped up. This one does not have the pockets, but when we go to view B, we can see these very large patch pockets with the flap. They're almost too big for me, but you can see the snaps here as well. And here we go at the sleeve where you can see how this is all gathered and then tucked into like a sleeve band here. This is opened, hits right at the hip, typical sort of jacket length. And then here is view C, which has the same pockets that are a little bit lower. Here you do see that you lack the actual collar, but you do have the collar stand. They chose to do it in a contrasting plaid here. You can see the snaps. It has the same gathered sleeve as you do on view B, but this is just a little bit longer length, and the patch pockets are slightly moved down here. Here's all three views again. These are more like chest pockets. These come a little bit lower as the whole jacket is longer. And then let's take a look at the back view where you can see where the yoke is. It's a little harder to see on the print, probably, yes, than this one that looks to be like a corduroy. You can see this top stitching here on the back yoke. And then again, we have the back of view C with the contrasting hem and collar stand there. And like I said, this is available between an 8 to an 18. And if you're new to sewing jackets or outerwear, I do think that the construction on this would probably be pretty easy. Now, some people don't feel that Burda's instructions are very clear, and I would have to agree with that in general. But this is a pretty simple, and they're labeling it as easy. So I'm hoping that in this, they give you a little bit extra information, knowing that they've rated it very easy and they need to give all the guidance for someone who's looking for a very easy pattern. Now, this says medium weight jacket fabrics, and I think that could be a lot of things. That could be your heavier bottom weights. It could be gabardine. It could be wool. It could be a jacketing woven. It could be a flannel. It could be a faux suede. There are a lot of options here, just whatever you want to include in your wardrobe. Here is another easy pattern. This one is going to be a pair of trousers. I don't know that I would call these trousers as much as like just pull-on pants. Trousers to me means like a fly, a waistband, a button, not this. But nevertheless, you can make pants, and being that a lot of people find pants intimidating, easy pants patterns are a good place to start. All the views here are going to have a faux fly and then an elasticized waistband, which is why I don't really want to call it a trouser and more of just a pant. You also are going to have angled slant pockets, which I love those kind of pockets. They stand out a little bit more to me than just an inseam pocket. And then it has a little bit of a pleat in the front as well. The back is just pretty much plain, at least on view A. When you move on to view B, you have more of a crop length, and they add these flap patch pockets to the side. I don't know why there's a cargo pocket on everything, y'all. And then there's patch pockets on the bottom as well on the back view. And then view C is a shorts view. The main difference here, obviously, is the length, but they also added belt loops and a self-tie belt. So if we look at this on the models, we can see, again, a pretty simple pant pattern here. You're going to have gathered at the waist. In this very busy pattern, you can't even see this top stitching of the faux fly. I would probably omit it. I don't really love faux flies, but that might just be me. But it's not all the way wide leg, but it is a loose leg here on the bottom. You can see here, view B is more of that ankle cropped length with those patch pockets with the flap. If you're going to do a side pocket on the leg like this, I'd almost rather it be like a 3D cargo pocket than this little sort of flat pocket. This waistband is also really wide to me to just be elasticized. I would either stitch through the elastic and sort of make it look channelized, or I would do channelized elastic, or maybe add a drawstring, something to add a little bit more interest to the waistband. And then there is the faux fly that you can see a little bit better here on this pair. And then view C is going to be the short view. So it's sort of like mid-thigh, above the knee length here. You have the belt loops with the added belt. I'm sure they're going to show us another view of all of these. You can see the bow tied here, a nice deep hem on the short, maybe an inch and a half. So yeah, we can take a look at all these views. Again, there's nothing wrong with this pattern. I just have so many pull-on pant patterns that I love. If you're interested in like a good beginner pants pattern, I would say Simplicity 9756. I would say Made for Mermaid Paris Palazzo Pants by Aronica B. Cole. I would say the Sourdough Pull-On Pant by Sew Make Bake. There are a lot of good options out there. I probably wouldn't pick this one. This calls for lightweight trouser fabric. So again, any lightweight woven. We're talking poplin, shirting, linens, challis, crepes. Any lightweight woven would work here. To give you a little bit of a drape, if you do a drapier fabric, if you go more into like a cotton or a shirting or a poplin, you're going to have a little bit more of a stiffer, more structured pant. But either works. It just depends on what you want. We have another jersey knit dress pattern here in Burda 5708, and this one is cute. It's saying that there are three easy to sew dress patterns because this is Burda Easy, so it's labeled at very easy. And based on what I see here, they definitely are. They are calling it figure hugging. I don't really know that this that. It's sort of like semi-fitted. It definitely isn't like true bodycon fitted. But that's almost what I prefer at this point anyway, so it's fine. I don't even know that we need the line drawings as much as we can just go look at these straight on the model actually. So if you look here, you can see a brief view of all three. Let's take a closer look. This is view A, where you are going to have short sleeve. There is a raglan sleeve here, as well as sort of like a scoop or a little bit wider neck. You have a seam at the waist, and then it just sort of slightly flares out. It's not completely straight or bodycon here, but it's a nice semi-fitted sort of type of dress. Here, even though it's being covered by this jacket, very similar raglan sleeve. You have a full length or maybe 7/8 length sleeve. And then instead of it being sort of an A-line skirt at the bottom, you have this gathering here at the waistline that just creates some fullness, a little bit of flirtiness because it's going to have just a little bit more movement. And then view C is basically view A, but a half sleeve with an added ruffle piece. And then again, the gathering at the waistline there. So they all definitely have a similar vibe of a wider neck, a fitted bodice, raglan sleeves. Just depends on what length. And then whether you're going to have more of the A-line skirt or a gathered skirt. So she has it on here with sneakers. I can see that. Again, with the sneakers, you could dress it up with boots or heels or sandals or espadrilles or, whatever. Definitely a lot of different looks here. Don't have to worry about a closure because it's a knit. You're just going to pull this right on over. It is available in an 8, 2, and 18. They recommend jersey. So I would say jersey, if you're talking about the fall months, which we're supposed to be. I could also see a double knit, so it could be a little bit heavier. So like a Liverpool, a Pant, a scuba, something like that. You could also, especially in the view A with the more straight skirt, I could see doing it in the heavier fabrics. In view B and C, you might want to do it in the mid to lightweight knits because you're going to have a little bit more easy time with the gathering. But either one would work. I could even see, again, a velour. You could do like a quilted kind of knit. You could do a sweater knit, would also work for this. So lots of options here. Just make sure there's enough stretch. And this isn't designed to be super fitted. So any knit fabric I really think would work. But the more stable or tightly knit your knit fabric you choose is, the more bodycon fitted it would probably be to your body. You could also size down if you wanted, especially in view A, a more fitted silhouette. That could definitely happen. But this is a very easy to sew dress. And if I didn't have a dress similar, and I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I'm sure that I do, I would probably grab this one. Burda is calling this jacket a modern silhouette with tapered sleeves. And we are definitely going to start with the line drawings on this because these jackets, though very similar, do sort of get two distinct looks. So view A is going to be the simpler view where you're just going to have, I think it's still a button closure here. It's just a concealed placket on the front. You have these bust darts that are more on the side seam, and then you have some darts on the sleeve that create more of like a barrel shape throughout the sleeve. But overall, the jacket itself is pretty simple. It's like a cropped that hits like right at the waist. There's a center back seam. There's no really anything extra here. I don't even think there are pockets on this jacket. But view B is essentially the same bones as view A, but sort of chopped and screwed. So you can see they added a collar. They added what looks like faux pockets with these pocket flaps on the chest. They added a lot of details of top stitching, not just at the hem in different points, but also along the darts. And they've broken up the sleeve in a different way so that it creates the same shape as the barrel sleeve on view A, but with more seaming versus a dart. You don't have a single dart on view B. What you do have is the sleeve that's being like sort of split into threes, and then reworking the curves of the shape there give you the barrel sleeve. And then they do have a hemband with a button on that sleeve opening of view B. So let's take a look at these on the models where you can probably see a little bit more of the details here. So view A is actually a really simple, although this isn't an easy to sew jacket. It's a very simple looking jacket. You can tell on the model, just a little bit cropped there. You can't really see the barrel shape of the sleeve. You can see it better on view B here. And if we zoom in, maybe we can see some of these splitting and top stitching. These flaps up here are like to sort of give you the illusion of a pocket, but there really isn't any. And they've done buttonholes with these like denim buttons that are punched on here. And you can see the addition of the collar hits at the same place, right? Sort of like at the waist. So if we look at it by itself, this almost looks like a really pretty jacquard. So it has a very sort of dressy look here. And there are assumably buttons or snaps underneath here. I would probably do snaps because they're just easier to me since the placket's going to be hidden anyway with this panel here. You can see there's a little bit of a drop shoulder. And maybe when we get to the back view, we'll be able to see that pleat here. You can really see this barrel shape. This is a very interesting denim. It has like these little specks of white in it. I actually really like it. Somebody tell me where they got this from. Anyway, you have sort of like the denim touch also with the metal buttons here, but you have a button placket here that you can see along with the collar. And then let's see if we can see on the back view here. You can sort of see, whoop, sorry guys. You can sort of see here that curved dart right here where the flower sort of split. I don't think you can see it as easy on this side, but that's sort of creating the shaping here in the sleeve on view A, which is why I think it's not as dramatic as a barrel as it is on view B, where we have all these different pieces. If we'll see if we can take a look, you can see here that you have the hemband with the button. There is sort of like this is almost like the cuff, the whole thing. See the top stitching here. And then we can see the other third here with the top stitching. And that's what's really creating that curve in the sleeve. So while I don't think I need any more jacket patterns, and I'm not a huge fan of the barrel sleeve anyway, I do think this is an interesting jacket, especially view B. This is available in a size 10 to 22. And I do think that these coats or jackets are different enough that they give you two very different feels. They call for jacketing fabrics, which is just very random. View A is a jacquard. View B is definitely a denim. So think things in that mid-weight category. You could maybe do a heavier linen. You could do a lightweight wool. This, you're going to want something that's more structured. You don't want a drapey fabric here. So nothing too lightweight, like a lightweight linen or a challis or a crepe or something. That's going to be too loose. You could do a taffeta or something like that for a dressy version, but you want something with a little bit more oomph. If you watch some of my more recent videos, I think some of the ones from the summer, I wasn't talking as bad about vests as I used to, but the old me is back. I don't get vest. So anyway, 5714 is a vest. We're still going to review it because maybe you're a vest kind of person. We have two views here. View A is a little bit more sporty and utilitarian. I do like the interesting lines that they do have on both of these vests, so I'll give them that. View A is giving you more of a moto vibe, as you have all of this top stitching. You have these zippered pockets on sort of the side front, and you have belt loops with a self belt here as well that adds a little bit more interest. Your collar is notched. There are either rivets or button detailings here, there on the lapels. And then you can also see on the back, you have a back center seam as well as the sort of curved seam at the bottom. So it is giving you a lot of seaming detail, especially since they're calling for top stitching at all of these seams. And then view B is sort of view A stripped down. You're going to have the same collar, you're going to have the same line work, but you're minusing the top stitching and you're adding welt pockets instead of the zippered pockets, and the belt is gone, but the overall lines are the same. So let's take a look at them, obviously, on the model. So first up, we have view A that gives you this more moto look. You have this zippered front here, and then like I said, these are either snaps or just rivets here for detailing on the lapel. You can see as well, you have the zippered pocket on the side front. So like all of the zipper details is giving you more moto, as well as the belt that you can sort of see hanging down here. We look at the more simple version of view B. This looks like a textured wool or maybe a deep corduroy. And you can see here these large welt pockets on the side front. And then you don't have the zipper. There's probably snaps behind here somewhere keeping this closed. Overall, same silhouette, but a different aesthetic, I would say. Here on this view, you can see the belt a little bit better, which you are going to make with the fabric, but you're going to add, you know, the grommets and stuff here. And all this hardware is what gives it more of that motorcycle jacket look. And then this is more of a clean look because you're losing all the hardware here. So if you're into vest, I think this is a very cute one. See, I love this little back seaming detail here on the back. If your body's cold, why aren't your arms? And that's what I don't understand about vests, because my arms are going to be cold first and then my body. So they just don't make sense to me. And y'all have explained it. I'm not, everyone do their own thing. It's just, I don't get it. I have to say that I like the aesthetics of this. Like, I think it's cute. I just don't know. I would literally be wearing it as an accessory. There would be no function. And it's not to say that I don't wear other things that add no function. They're just an accessory. It's just best on it for me. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Last up, we have another skirt pattern. This is 5715. They call this skirt pattern having 2 advanced styles, but they rate it average. Interesting. They're saying the first offers a rock jeans vibe. You can't see my finger quotes here. And then the second combines denim with a kilt. I don't know what that means. Let's look, shall we? On the line drawings, you will see... Oh, now this would have been great. Right on time for Cowboy Carter, the way they have these stars on the back pockets here. But anyway, the skirt itself is basically a midi-length pencil skirt. View A and B have a waistband. View A has a button with a faux fly. View B still has a faux fly, but it has this wrap over tabbed waistband, which is, I guess, where the kilt aesthetic comes in, because they have like a large safety pin there. And then they both have angled front pockets, as well as a deep slit in the front center seam. View B has patch pockets on the back with the star detailing on the pocket. And then view B has a very plain back. So let's take a look at them again on the models here, so we can sort of get into the details between the two. And first up, we're going to have view A, which see how they talk about it so figure hugging? Does it look figure hugging here? Not to me. Anyway, this one has the self belt with the belt loops, and then you have the angled pockets that you can't see too clearly because her hands are in there. So we're just going to go ahead and move on to view B. Now, view B has this fraying detail here, which I would omit on the angled pocket, which you also can't see here because of the fabric pattern, although I do sort of like this plaid pattern. And then this tab comes around, and you can see right here, there's like a big safety pin, which is, I guess, supposed to be the kilt-like element of it all. I don't know. Here we can see it off the model here we can see the angled pocket detailing with the top stitching. You can also see that instead of this being a curved here at the fly, this is also very angled. So I guess that's why they're saying it has a rocker vibe. You also have a little bit of hardware here on the belt, but I would see this more of being a rocker vibe if they had added some more rivets and studs and grommets and stuff to it. Then I could see how it would be giving grunge or like rock. And then aside from this being plaid and them adding the one little safety pin here, I don't know what's kilt-like about this. It's just a fitted pencil midi-length skirt here. I do like the front slit, but I don't know what it's a kilt about it. Now, here's where the Cowboy Carter would have came in. They took a little bit of leather and added these star accents on the pocket, which you could obviously easily omit. But here's another tip. You could do this with any pattern, especially like if you have a Cricut, like if if you're me and your cutting skills or your straight line drawing skills aren't that great, you could definitely do this with a Cricut. If you have some different shapes and say like an AccuQuilt cutter for sort of the embroidery detailing, you could use something like that to cut out a shape to add to the back of any patch pocket. This could be on jeans, shorts, pants, a skirt. It doesn't matter. It could be cute. You could even do it just with like an iron on if you did your Cricut. You don't even have to cut out fabric. I'm just saying there are a lot of options here. You could do it with actual patches. If you have patches, you could do that as well. Just a way to look at a pattern and take what you like away from it and apply it to a different pattern. You could definitely do that. But I do like the way that sort of adds a little bit of pop. And then you have the back of View B, which is very clean because it doesn't have the pockets there. And again, this is available from, I think I said already, a 10 to a 22. They are both midi length, although it looks like View B is an inch and a half longer somewhere. I don't know if that's in the waistband or not. But yeah, cute. I like this style of skirt. I have to do a little bit of fitting to make these skirts work really well on me because I don't really have hips, and they usually have a pretty dramatic hip curve in them. So it takes some extra fitting for me. Again, they say this is advanced style, and I don't really see what about either one of these views are advanced, which might be why they did rate them as average, which is probably what I would rate it. Having not looked at the instructions or the pattern pieces or anything like that, I don't see what would be standoutish about this to make it more advanced. If you can sew a fly, you can sew the skirt. But anyway, I think it's cute. Don't know that I need it because I think I have a McCall's pencil skirt that's very similar to this. And the things that I really like about this, I could pull from somewhere else. So there you go. All right, so we have reached the end of the fall patterns from this latest release from Burda Style. And while it may seem like I've passed on most of these in my comments going through them, that's only because I've been sewing for over 10 years, and Burda brings us a lot of good staple basic patterns that I simply already have in my stash from my years and years of sewing. However, if you don't, because you have switched from like home decor sewing to fashion sewing, or maybe you used to only sew for your children and now you want to sew for yourself, I don't know, whatever the case may be, if you've been away from sewing and you've come back, you might need a basic t-shirt pattern, you might need a basic sweatshirt pattern, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with any of the patterns that we've seen today. Some are more my style, some are more not my style, but overall, I think this was a good release. If I was new to sewing, I would be grabbing quite a few of them. Now, like I said, some people do find the instructions in Burda a little bit lacking at times, and I agree with that in general, but every pattern is a little bit different, and I do hope that the easy patterns would have an additional, sort of direction because they're targeting new sewists. But also, if you've been sewing for a while, nothing in this release was very complicated as far as this technique is concerned, and you probably know how to do all of these things anyway. You might not even really need the instructions. Overall, though, I would say this is a good release. A lot of good fall staples, everything from hoodies to pants to skirts to even the bag accessories. This is a good release, so take some time to check it out. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and until later, happy sewing. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and happy sewing.